Hi and welcome back. So this part here now we have to kind of fit into place, which isn't going to be as much of a problem, hopefully, as we think. So what I'm going to do first is start merging some of these verts into one, because we don't need so many verts really. So if I select all of these along here, first thing I'm going to do is a very naughty thing called collapse. There we go. And that collapses them all into one. Now the problem we have here is these side ones are all intersecting. So that is a problem. So before we collapse them all into one, it's probably going to be a better idea to kind of thunder through here first and do a quick connect times 1 and then flatten that down a bit like so. Now go across here, because we really just want to clean this up as much as possible. Do a collapse. Yep, that works, and it's not going to leave our model quite so messy. And now if I go through here, backspace and delete, and that gets rid of all of those. Now for this bottom layer here, I could just backspace and delete them anyway, and just kill off all but the very middle one of these. The only problem we get here is, as you can see, there's a bit of an overlap going on, so it does help having that layer in. Like a buffer, if you think about it, I suppose. There's a polygon there that shouldn't be. What's that? Oh no, that's the bounding box, sorry. Right, anyway, back to this. Select these. Connect. Give it a little bit of a flatten. Now I'm going to collapse them, and then I'm going to get rid of all these. There we are. Makes it a little bit better on the eyes. Now you may notice there's a couple of areas over here that could probably do with collapsing anyway. There, and that way you won't get the overlap. See? And I'm just going to cut straight up here. That way we don't get a bent polygon in the middle, which will cause us all sorts of errors and conflicts otherwise. Okay, that's fine. Now, let's go back to this shape here, because we want to start building our mount into this. So let's do an attach. Okay, and now this is part of the obelisk corner area, so we're going to do some bridging. Access my bridge tool, and just start pushing the bridge into the right position. Now you can see here, we're going to need to bring these borders, or edges, or whatever the hell you want to call them, back a little bit. So, there we are. Just to give our shape, I don't know, a little bit less of an error margin at the top, really, as much as anything. And we can do the same at the bottom. If we do the same at the bottom, there we go, it makes it a lot more uniform, as you can see. Just need to match this up a bit. There we go, that's better. Now we have some overlaps going on over here that we need to kill. So there's one, and there's one. There's no reason for us to have them, so don't keep the overlaps. Now over here, I'll do a bridge, and again. It's a complicated shape, you see. I mean, in the plastic kit, I suppose they can get away with just creating a very simple shape, but we don't have that luxury option here, especially when we're looking at detail. So, sorry, I've just slipped into expert mode, by the way, if you're wondering. having a problem getting that piece there to go into the right area. So let's embrace everything good about the bridge tool and just select them manually. Then click the bridge button. See, that one really doesn't want to bridge. So if I zoom in on this, my suspicion is there's some sort of a polygonal issue that I'm not aware of. Let's find out. Shift and drag. Oh, shift and drag works. What about target welds? And target weld seems to work fine, so go figure. Okay, it's obviously just being awkward. Bridge that. Okay, now, as you can see in the top corners, we have various polygons that are going to need fixing. Don't be tempted just to go, hoo hoo hoo, cap, because it's not going to work. I mean, it will probably in these little triangular bits down here, don't get me wrong, but it won't work in the other bits. So, do a target weld. One. And do this one too. There we are. Do it again here. And what we're doing is we're just kind of cleaning up our shape as much as we can. I mean, it is a very messy shape, to be honest. Right, I'm going to do a cut here. You can see it wants to naturally bend anyway. So if we let it, we're not going to get as many polygonal conflicts when it comes to render time. Do another cut here. Because I can see there's some bad polygons going on under there. I don't mean that in the sense of, ooh, you naughty polygon either. I mean it as in, you know, it really is going to cause us a problem if we're not careful. Top zoom. Let's bring that to about there. Perspective. Zoom. There, that's a bit better. Very uneven shape, but that's okay. Now down here, I'm going to do another cut. There. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to cut the triangles in to make the polygon fit. It's going to be a pain in the bum, but there we are. Press F4. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I can get rid of some of these actually. Let's just have a look at some of these shapes. Target weld. Yeah. These are extraneous pretty much. Just need to get rid of this edge. And then I can rebuild that piece. So I'll do the same over here. Get rid of that. And that. Now I'm going to cap this. Cap this. Now I'm going to run a cut from here to about there. Nah, I don't like that shape at all. Let's look at this shape again. I just want to kind of remove this really hard collar area at the bottom as much as I can. So let's just take an extreme step here. This is like where Bob Ross grabs his great big fan brush and starts talking wistfully about trees. You kind of know what's going to happen. You're mentally bracing yourself for it, but there's going to be a big tree any minute. There we go. And see, these polygons are all bent, which isn't a good shape for me. And I'm really not liking the mount shape at the bottom for this at all. If I don't like it, how can I expect you guys to like it? Good question, really. Okay, now let's select the cap here. Top viewport, zoom. It's a messy shape, that one. Just get rid of this bit. There. Okay, for some reason I feel a lot happier with this, and trying to explain why would be kind of pointless, because I don't know. It's just an ergonomic decision, even though there's a big space behind here. So I think what I'm going to do now is have a look at this shape here. The top viewport. Perspective viewport. Just kind of coming across, repeatedly trying to find a decent place to do this. I'm going to select here, 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 and here. I'm going to go into my slice plane tool, rotate it 90 degrees. No, I didn't have angle snap on there, so let's put angle snap on. Now I'm going to rotate this by 45 degrees. Now I'm going to move it into a place of my choosing. You probably think to yourself, you know, Chris, you crazy man, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing a cut, an even cut, straight across there. I don't know if you can see it or not particularly well. Now I just click slice, and there's my cut. Alright? Now for this bottom part here, which isn't flat anymore, but I want flat, I can just do that. I'm feeling the calming waves coming across me already. Right, now here. See, this is what happens when you think to yourself, I'll show them a short way of doing things, and then you get kind of hung up and you think, no, I'm going to show them the proper way to do it. And that's pretty much what this is. Okay. Don't get me wrong, I think the top piece actually looks really nice. However, the bottom piece looked horrendous, because it was. And I still haven't filled in those gaps there. Anyway, back down here. Make sure this is kind of matching up as best as possible. And what I'm going to do is grab here and here and do a bridge, just so I can see if this is far enough back or not. And my move tool, it's not quite, so I'll move it. There, now it's right underneath. Now, if you look there, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? That one hasn't followed along with it at all, which makes me think I need to do a quick target weld over here. Don't worry, by the way, I do this kind of thing all the time. Let's see where this is. It seems to be sitting in the middle of nowhere, which I always find a little bit worrying. And for good cause. It is literally a vert in the middle of nowhere. Wonder what happens when I delete it. Nothing at all. That's promising. Get rid of that one too then. Right, back to work. Now what I have to do is basically blend in that piece with this piece, which is going to be a lot easier because this bottom half's flat now. So if I select here and here and do a quick bridge, and then here and here and do a quick bridge, and then do the same here and here. Try that again. That means I can now cap this area and this area. And it works because it's flat at the bottom, see? It's just curving out at the sides. Now, what's going on down here? Because I can see an extra polygon that I'm not liking the look of. There it is, which means there's an error. Let's just undo that again. So when I selected that, if you look, it came all the way down here. So let's just grab here, zoom in. So it looks like we've got two polygons that, sorry, two verts that aren't actually welded together. We probably have, grab one, pull it up. Intriguing. Check this one. That one wasn't welded. That would explain something. Let's try it now. Yeah, that's better. That's much better. Okay, I'm feeling much more positive and comfortable about this shape as we go on. Now if we look here, this one needs a weld too. Or does it? Let's have a look. Is this just an open area? I think this is just an open area. Let's see. Yep, it's an open area. So we can weld this back. Use a target weld. There we go. And again over here. Okay, just making this prominent part kind of fit into place. I know it's a pain in the backside. I know it's not much fun when you're trying to work these parts out. But I'm just trying and make this as easy as possible for all of us, really. Bring that across to there. And to there. And just look at the shape. See, the shape's very stark when we bring that out to the corner, which I'm not liking at all. Of course, I'm not really liking that piece at the moment that much either, so because it is very, very sharp the way that pushes out. Right, so let's repair this instead by drawing the polygon in. Let's use the create tool and going clockwise. Remember, if it was meant to be easy, it'd be using poser. I remember once actually a poser user, I think, can't remember who it was, emailed me and said, you know, why do you always say things like this about poser? Poser is just as good as any 3D application, which I thought was kind of a warning light as much as anything. So I said, fair enough then. And what was it I said again? Oh yeah, that's it. Go and make a teapot in poser. Fell at the first hurdle. Bad luck. Okay, that's made our shape, which is standing out really nicely there. Okay, and you'll notice now it really fits in. We've got the angles meeting the curves, and the sides work nicely as well, so I'm pleased about that. So we can now fit in some panel. What I'm going to do here is grab this one and this one, do an inset by 0.02. Then I'm going to do bevel by local normal, minus 0.02, minus 0.02, inset, and then a bevel again. Click OK. Turn that off, press F4 so we can see it. There's the maker's line. Excellent. See, we don't want to stick too much detail on this section here, simply because if we do, it's going to look a bit silly because we've got the gun behind it, and it's going to really detract from that. Yeah. Okay, so we can do these two pieces at the same time now. Bevel in, inset, and then bevel out again. Okay. Now we can do these ones. And I think I've already just done that one, haven't I? So let's do this section here. And while I'm doing that section, I'll do this bit too. Why not? Let's go wild. I think you know who said that too, don't you? Yeah, that's right. Bless him. Still missed. It's funny that, you know, if anyone did influence like me more than any other artist to do teaching, it would have been Bob Ross. He really is, or was, one of the best natural teachers in the world. Right, you can see I've got some bad polygons going on here. Hopefully I can go back over here now and fix those. Let's have a look. I need to do this. Let's just do this one first. Have I done this one already? I didn't think I had. No. Inset. And then a bevel. Then an inset. Then a bevel. And you notice I do things the long way, as you know, because I like doing it that way. And because, funny enough, if you use nothing but shortcuts all the time, you tend to lose people quite easily. No, Chris, you say. That's not possible, but it's true. If I show people how to do things and use nothing but shortcuts, A, it takes me longer, because I've got to use the shortcuts myself, and I've got to remember how to use them all, but B, it's a lot harder for people to follow if they're going from any level. I mean, you know, a lot of people go, but I'm quite an advanced user. But sure you are. But a lot of people perhaps aren't, and maybe this is going to be, you know, their first ever tutorial or whatever, and they don't want to use a big sodding load of hotkeys, and fair play to them. I know when I first started 3ds Max, I certainly wouldn't have wanted to. Right, let's do this bit here, and that bit there. Hell, why not that bit there as well, just to make it a little bit less regular and mirrored. There we go. Yeah, it's funny. I was watching I was watching a Bob Ross what was it? They show it on the cable channels or whatever it is in America. But I was watching Bob Ross, and he's on YouTube as well, thankfully, or Google Video. I can't remember which one it was. And the natural method of his teaching really was a massive inspiration. I mean, if you look at the way he teaches, he's showing using repeat method here. His wet on wet style, which is a really good style anyway. He didn't invent it. It's kind of a it was invented by the Dutch artists, and the idea is that you're kind of painting one colour on top of the other, and you're doing it as fast as possible before the paint dries. And the whole approach to that kind of really hit me, that it's possible to show people how to do stuff and how to do it really quite quickly. And if you repeat it enough times, so, you know, if you do, say, a 30-minute lesson and you show someone how to do something, well, in the next 30-minute lesson, you're doing something similar in 3D, but you're showing them the same techniques. And eventually, they kind of get it on their own. And if you are advanced, that's okay. You can just scoot forward. Doesn't really matter. You can catch up really easily. Okay, inset, bevel. Quite funny. I was actually looking on eBay because I really wanted one of Bob Ross's paintings. Now the thing is, of course, that when Bob Ross died, the Bob Ross organisation donated most of his paintings to charities and various other places. And it's so hard to get a Bob Ross that it's not even funny. Now my mother actually owns a not a Bob Ross painting. God, because she wouldn't own it for long. She has an original Salvador Dali. It's not one of the really impressive oil paintings. You know, Salvador Dali went through a phase where he put out so many paintings that frankly you could pick one up for about $400, $500. And my mother's got one of those. And it's just a watercolour. And I thought, well, if that was only $500, I'll look up a Bob Ross. And I saw a Bob Ross on the internet. And I followed the auction through, and it got to $22,000. And I was like, oh, for God's sakes. 22,000 bloody dollars. Ah, such is life. Right, let's have a look at this mounting point over here then, because I've got carried away with talking about one of my favourite subjects, as you can probably tell. Right, let's do an inset there, and then bevel it in. So if any of you guys have a Bob Ross that you really don't want, if you could just ignore the fact that I just said that it's massively expensive, and just send it to me, I'll be sure to give you, you know, free training DVDs for the rest of your natural life, probably. Or at least a great big hug, one of the two. Inset. Doing this really does break up some of the complicated shapes, as you can see. You know, I really wish there was a fan brush button now, and that you could do funky trees really easily in 3ds Max without using that template thing. There we go. Just want to make sure I haven't pulled any big errors into my model, and thankfully I haven't. Inset. Do both these at once. Inset. Okay, now I'm going to bevel these in. Okay, now I'm going to inset them again. See, even I forgot what I was doing there. Well done me. Now I'm going to bevel them out again. Okay, and that's that panel piece done. Now if I select Tut Gun on my top viewport, it's very easy to line it up because I'm just using the inside of that piece there. See? Oop, there it goes. Because of course one's a clone of the other anyway. And now I can move them into the correct position by doing the same thing again. Now I'm not going to attach the mesh this time because otherwise I won't be able to get the Gauss cannon to rotate properly. However, as you can see, we now have the Gauss cannon mounted in its mount, which, you know, is nothing short of awesome. We can actually scale it down a tiny bit if you want a gap between the mount. However, you don't really need one, and as you can see, it kind of works really nicely, which I like. We can use lookout constraints if you really want to kind of align the targets for this, but I'm not going to at the moment. Okay, and what I'm going to do though is just do a quick shift and drag and just attach that. That way, if or when this thing does move around, the cannon will move with it. Right, so even though that did become a bit of a mess, because it's a complicated thing to do, as you can probably tell by now, we've now got the mounted Gauss cannon, which is brilliant news, and I'm very happy about that. So, in the next part, we'll move on to this bit at the top here. Till then, thanks for watching. See you later.